Hello, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Bandanity, and today Stormgate has released one of its first patches, 0.1.0, and I wanted to make a little bit of a comparison video of a before and after. Now, you can go and read the dev article, you can go and have a look at all the numbers, but I think it's really hard for some things to visualize the difference between one and after. So I wanted to have a little pre and post patch. That's what the video is going to be. I'll have little timestamps in the description for each of the factions if you want to check out your specific faction. If not, please enjoy. And if you've enjoyed this content, if you like this content, please make sure you like and subscribe, because I will be doing much more Stormgate stuff in future. Right, let's get into it. Right, we'll start off with the general changes. These are the changes that have been applicable either to creep camps or just across all three factions. Starting off, all tier 1 to tier 2 upgrades have been decreased from 40 seconds to 30 seconds. All destructible trees on the map are now light. This mostly affected the Morph Core, who had its damage nerfed against light units. So now the Morph Core can actually cut trees down. Creep camps have had a general change across the board, making them tankier overall. Creeps have also had a decrease on how much bounty they give from being killed at level 1. On the other hand, though, they now scale more at higher levels. So level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5, they give higher amounts of rewards. There was changes in the AI behavior of the creeps, making them target ground units over air units. They also fixed a bug where Shadow Mastiffs were doing an unreasonable amount of damage to air units. Finally, and most notably, stealth units can no longer claim and capture control points. Moving on to the Vanguard faction. Vanguard's habitats and solar habitats now have the heavy tag instead of the light tag. Sentry posts have had their build time decreased from 55 seconds to 45 seconds. Bobs have had their build time reduced from 20 seconds to 17 seconds to bring them more in line with the rest of the factions. Dogs. Here we go, boys, the dogs. Scouts have had their build time increased from 13 seconds to 18 seconds. Their initial damage has been changed from 8 damage flat to 5 damage plus 3 against light units. The Beryllium Claws upgrade now improves the Scout's damage by only a plus 8 versus light rather than plus 16. The Lancer has had changes across the board, trying to make it less reliant on its abilities and more innately tanky and damaging. Lancer's health has been increased from 240 to 260. Lancer's armor has been increased from 5 to 15. Lancer's damage has been increased versus light units specifically, gaining a plus 5 against light units. Lancer's passive ability that allowed them to reduce damage innately by 2 has been removed. Mitigative Guard, their tier 3 upgrade, has now been changed so that it no longer increases that reduction by 2 to 4, it now just is that original damage reduction from 2. Exos have had their damage decreased yet again, decreasing from 13 plus 7 versus heavies to 12 plus 6 versus heavies. Medtech Master Training, which unlocks System Shock, now requires a central command down from a high command. The Impact Thruster upgrade has been removed. Its functionality has now been innately given to the Vulcan. Hornets have had their damage decreased from 13 plus 13 versus light to 13 plus 4 versus light. Gravens have had their cost decreased from 125 Luminite, 125 Therium to 125 Luminite and 75 Therium. Finally, Helicarrier's bombing range run has been decreased from 40 range to 25. I didn't really have a great way of visualizing this, so I present to you the wall of habitats. Right, moving on to my faction, the Infernals. Nightfall Infestation now has a slow on it, which reduces enemy units' move speed by 50% for 3 seconds. Its cooldown has also been decreased from 90 seconds down to 60. Brute's Sundering Soul Frenzy upgrade, which was their first upgrade that gave Fiends a bonus move speed on split, has been removed. All upgrades that relied on it have also had that requirement removed. Soulforge Ascendance, which was the upgrade that gave 3 Fiends on split rather than 2, can now be researched immediately upon building a Hellforge. Its research time has been increased from 60 seconds to 120 seconds to account for this. Gaunts, here's the big one, everyone. Gaunt's Plague Axe upgrade will now only apply in Fest if the target is on Shroud. Gaunts have also seen a slight buff in damage on their primary fire, going from 8+2 versus light to 8+4 versus light, and a bonus on their bounce from 2 plus 0.5 versus light, I didn't even know you could do half a damage, to 2 plus 1 versus light. Magmaton's Trample stun duration has now been decreased from 0.3 seconds to 0.15 seconds. Hellborn's attacks will now target the ground if a target enemy unit walks out of range. I tried to get a clip of this with my own unit, but it seems like it just cancels the attack, so I might have to actually get a clip of that in-game. Weavers have now got their ability to walk over other units back again. Weavers have also had their move speed off of Shroud increased from 2 to 2.5, while their passive that gave them bonus move speed in Shroud has been decreased from 100% down to 60%. This means that their move speed on Shroud is unchanged at 4. Hexen's Miasma energy cost has been increased from 40 to 60. Hexen's Miasma also has a cooldown now of 15 seconds. This means that if they're interrupted during the cast, they now just can't immediately cast it again. Harbinger's Seismic Slam upgrade now additionally increases the Harbinger's Shroud coverage by 100%. And finally, Spriggans have seen a cost change from 75 Luminite and 75 Therium to 100 Luminite and 50 Therium, as well as seeing a damage increase from 2+2 versus heavies to 3+3 versus heavies. I want to point out here that Spriggans attack multiple times when they do one attack, so that's why the numbers don't match up. Lastly, the Celestials. Now I want to point out that the Celestials have actually only been in Stormgate for about 2 patches now, so it's not surprising to see they've had a larger swathe of changes than other races. Arcships have had their cost decreased from 300 Luminite to 250. Argents are getting a fair few changes, so I want to read you the dev notes here. Major feedback surrounding the Argents usually involve the following. Early game Argent pushes are too powerful, especially in CVC where it's too difficult to tech to a unit that counters it. And 2, Argents are weaker in a metagame that focuses on early game creeping, because their energy-based attacking mechanics inherently makes them ineffective at consistent combat. As a result of this feedback, we've tweaked the starting stats of the Argents and their upgrades to more finely tune their strengths and weaknesses throughout the game. After these changes, we expect unupgraded Argents will be less powerful at frontal engagements, but more effective at creeping. Right, so here's the actual changes. Argents have had their health decreased from 210 to 180. They've had their movement speed increased from 4 to 4.5. Their base energy reduction has been decreased from 0.5 to 0. Their out of combat energy regeneration has increased from 0 to 2. The Photo Restoration upgrade, which increased the movement speed of Argents by 0.5 and increased their out of combat energy regeneration by 1, has been removed. Their max energy has been decreased from 50 to 30. And there's a new upgrade at tier 1 called the Photocapacitors, which increases the energy pool of Argents from 30 back to their 50. Finally, the Longshot module, which was the next upgrade for the Argents, now increases their range from 3 up from 2. Kree in the previous patch were seen as poor frontline whilst being extremely high damage. The devs have attempted to tweak their numbers to make Kree better frontlines whilst pulling back their damage. Kree's health has been increased from 190 to 230, and Kree's damage has been decreased from 16 plus 8 versus light to 14 plus 6 versus light. Cabals was seen as too much of a hard counter to hit and run playstyles, and so they've had their Debilitate ability nerfed. Debilitate's duration has been decreased from 40 seconds to 25 seconds, which is still an insane amount of time. And Debilitate's movement speed debuff has been decreased from 50% movement speed decreased to just 25. Sabers now require an arc station instead of an ascension matrix. Sabres have had their base movement speed increased from 2 to 3, but they've also had their mass accelerator decreased from 200% to 100%. Resulting move speed at the end of this is 6, which is the same as it was before. Animancers have had the Hexen treatment. Their Dark Prophecy ability now has a cooldown of 15 seconds and begins at the start of channeling. Archangels, Meteor Strike can now destroy trees. I did find it funny that they couldn't do that before. Archangel's Avatar State weapon shockwave speed has been increased from 7 to 15. Also, when the Avatar State ends for the Archangel will now retain its current HP. For example, if the Archangel was at 500 of 1150 health when the Avatar State ends, it will then be 500 out of 750. Previously, it would have decreased to 100. There you go everyone, that was the patch of Stormgate. A lot of effort was put into this video, so please, any support is greatly appreciated. My name has been Bandanity, and if I don't see you again, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time.